starting a new role, a new place, even a new attitude. It can be exciting and scary at the same time. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for a reboot? That's our topic on this episode of the Educators Among Us podcast.
Welcome to the Educators Among Us podcast, where we share motivational messages and inspiring stories for and about educators. Your host, Scott Barron, is author of the critically acclaimed book, Love 'Em and Lead 'Em, and provides powerful insights and wisdom for those who heed the call to teach, coach, lead, and serve at all levels of education.
This is Scott Barron, and I'm honored to be your host for the Educators Among Us podcast. We love providing encouragement and insights, some stories and some words of encouragement for those who serve in all levels and all roles and all types of schools. It takes a team, and we're very grateful for you and your commitment to that work, for being there when people need you, for being there in season as well as out of season, because we have a calling that has a unique power to it. It's a gifting of being able to be a blessing to other people by giving them hope, by giving them a pathway forward and learning and growing and being the best that they could possibly be. That's the joy of being an educator. And that incorporates from the boardroom, those that serve at some of the higher levels of the organization, all the way down to those who work on the staff and facilities and sort of the lower levels of the org chart and everything in between. It's just remarkable, the level of talent and the different roles that are required to lead and provide an educational system and service. So thank you for your commitment to that work and for the joy that you bring to a lot of people. We're in a special season. In many parts of the world, this is the end of the school year that we're approaching. And, there's a lot of excitement, graduations and field days and other traditions that are a part of this season of life, and a lot of transitions that happen in terms of people, moving, they're just going to a new school, a new grade. People are changing careers, changing jobs, changing schools, different things, people retiring, new people are coming in. There's this overlap between finishing this year while moving into next year. And it gets really complicated with all the decisions that have to be made and trying to make sure that we finish this year strong while also getting ready for the new season, right? It's kind of similar to sometimes the athletic teams that we watch, and there's different teams for different years. And sometimes we have to make changes and find new directions and start fresh. Even sometimes we have to reboot. And that's our theme in the conversation today is, change happens. Sometimes we have to, do like they do on the computer and on the old, PCs, we would hit Control-Alt-Delete, and it would be that way when nothing's working and the hourglass is spinning, or on the Mac when we got the pinwheel going and it's not going anywhere. We're stuck, right? And sometimes it happens on the computer and other places, and that's where I get a call occasionally from my mom, and sometimes the computer's not working or the printer's not working, and the first step, well, have you turned it off and then wait a few minutes and then power it back up? That reboot, and then so we go through that process, and I would say the majority of the time that takes care of it, right? Those are transition moments. And it's like Fred Rogers once said, transitions are almost always signs of growth, but they can bring feelings of loss. It's part of the territory. To get somewhere new, we may have to leave somewhere else, and I'll add someone else, behind. Sometimes we have to make those decisions in life. And it's time. It's time for a reboot, right? And we all experience those moments. We experience them in life when it's just that reboot is the best solution. It's time. Sometimes we don't know when it's time. Sometimes other people get to make that decision for us. Sometimes we just get tired and some we've seen some folks that, they want to hang on too long. They've lost their energy. They've lost their calling, right? And it's important that we know when it's time to hit the reboot, right? That may involve a big pause, right? That moment when we say, hey, we're going a different direction. Sometimes it requires a pause, a stop, right? Where we look around and we see what we've been missing. Sometimes it's been there all along, but we've been busy. We've been busy and blinded by our routines. We got to go. We got people to see, places to go, things to do, and we got lesson plans, and we've got tasks. We've got so many things that we have to do, and whether our reboot is voluntary or involuntary, right? We can seize the opportunity. We can take advantage of that time when we get to reboot. Life moves pretty fast, if you recall from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And you do miss it. We all miss it, right? Because we're so in the moment. We're so living that we forget to pause and look around and remember why we're living. And remembering the connections that we have, the influence we have, and even some of the opportunities that are there, but we haven't stopped long enough to realize, hey, it's time for a reboot, right? How could we honestly claim a growth mindset, right? How can we really say that we've got that growth mindset while fearfully we're gripping on just so tight, we're scared to death. Right, we're gripping onto the same location, the same plans, the same habits, and the same mentors in life. That's a stretch, just to say that we are these. The term that's often used is lifelong learners. Right, we're learners. We have the grit, we have the mindset, and yet we're hanging on for dear life. And it's hard to step out of that boat. It's hard to, my son said that just recently, it's hard when you're having to do a trust fall every day, and it's okay to do it once, but every day I've got to step out of the boat again and again and again, right? That's uncharted territory. It's uncharted territory in between who we are and who we're becoming, right? There's a gap there between what we've known, those habits we've been hanging on to, those relationships that have become embedded, and who we need to be, who we're becoming. And that territory, that's got some real risks to it. It has no maps. It has no assurances. There's no inside knowledge of shortcuts of where to go and places of safety. And sometimes there's no friends. There's no friends there either. We're going into uncharted places and we have to build new relationships and we have to start fresh. Listen, change is hard. Change, and it's hard. It's hard before it gets easier. I mean, eventually, as we get through those points of change, we start to learn new habits. We start to build new relationships. We start to build new plans. We start to gain new mentors, right? But that change, that's hard. And the only way through it is through it. The only way to get to the other side is you got to go. You got to keep fighting through. Becoming what we want is impossible without the pain of letting go of what is. That's the way life works. Right? In Colossians, Paul says, put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge and in the image of its creator. Right? The new self, that new self that can be more than we thought, that can be those possibilities that we've dreamed of, that can be what we really want and where we need to be. Sometimes, again, those changes are triggered by choices that we've made, but sometimes they're triggered by other people making choices. And that's okay, right? That transition, though, has some really, really important decisions that we make, right? Listen, today changes yesterday, right? As we grow forward, as we go through new things, our perspective is rightly altered by new wisdom, by new knowledge. And that helps us to see what we missed when we were in the midst of the struggle. We didn't see it through that lens at the time because we were in it. We were fighting through it. We were learning. We were trying to figure this whole thing out. But when we look back, we begin to see the value of the journey. We begin to discover a humility to recognize it wasn't just us in there, that there was a lot of other of support and faith that got us through some difficult times, right? Today changes yesterday. And there's also the progress changes belief, right? When we start making progress, man, it's we start to believe in ourselves and people start to believe in us, right? When we start seeing the benefits of what's new and different, we start experiencing those little bits of promise and see the progress, right? Greater energy and commitment grows to keep advancing forward. We need those milestones. We need those, even if they're small. Even if they're small, we need to be able to, and this is important for school leadership teams, that we see those milestones along the way. We communicate those and we celebrate those, especially at the end of the year where we know that we won. We know that we got her done. That there was a great number of successes and wins, and ultimately we got there. We've arrived, right? Progress. It changes belief. Leave it better, not bitter. That's the challenge that we all face as we're going through these points of transition. What we leave behind is a testimony of our character. Right? Renewal with grace and forgiveness, that allows our past and our present to be free. It allows our past, the people that we had in our past, our last school, our last relationships, our last class, our last colleague, whatever, it allows them the freedom to start fresh as well. It allows them a chance to celebrate, and we get to reflect on what season that we've just completed, but also look forward to what's ahead. But that's a choice we make. And it's an important choice because we have seen in too many schools that what happens at the end becomes so bitter that it takes root, that root of bitterness does begin to be planted and it begins to spread. And unfortunately, it can linger for a long time. It can stay. It can also be transplanted. You take that bitterness with you and it doesn't leave you either. It becomes a point of where you are. And that's a problem. It undermines your character. It undermines your testimony. It undermines your effectiveness. And you're called to be an educator. And educators change lives. Right? And that's the privilege and the responsibility we have is, hey, leave it better. Don't leave it bitter. That's not good for you or them. So, put on your new self this week, my friend, leaving behind what's necessary to embrace what we can become. That power of what we can be today, those battles that we have to fight through, the things that we have to endure, the new friends we make, the new skills we gain, the new goals we set. It's worth it. And it's going to be painful for a little while, but the only way through it is through it. So the challenge is keep on while retaining your character, while doing the things that you know are true to your calling and to your values, because it makes a difference. And we hope that as you're able to make it through these latter parts of the year where you are, that you're able to do it in a way that is both honorable and encouraging to others, because we get to share these words of encouragement for you, and we're hoping that you're passing this along, that you're sharing these stories, but you're also becoming that encouragement to others, that light that helps say, hey, we can do this. We can get through this. We can do this together. We don't have to get bitter. We can make each other better, and we can make this place better because of our combined energy, because of our combined talents, because we work together as a cohesive team. We trust each other, and that's the game changer. So a coaching question to consider as you go through this week: did I do my best to put on the new self today? Did I do my best to put on the new self today? Love 'em and lead 'em, my friend. This is Scott.
Thank you for joining us for the Educators Among Us podcast and for your courageous commitment to this noble calling. We get you and the challenges of this work. To stay connected with this community, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and weekly encouragement at educatorsamongus.com.